Hey everybody, welcome back to some more Casual Commander. We are going to be doing the last of our mono colors. We have Empress Galena here. She is 3 mana and 2 blue. You pay 2 blue and you tap her to gain control of target legendary permanent. This effect lasts indefinitely, and she's a 1/3. Now, Tifa's here because she likes the energy of this deck, of taking things that aren't hers. So she wanted to participate. Anyway, not everything in this deck is about taking stuff. It's also about copying things. First off, we've got Whisper Silk Cloak, 3 mana. Equipped creature is unblockable. Equipped creature has Shroud, meaning it can't be the target of spells or abilities by anybody, including yourself. Equip cost 2. Armillary Sphere, 2 mana. Pay 2 mana and tap it to sack it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Hullbreaker Horror, 5 and 2 blue. Flash, means cast at any time. This spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It's a 7/8. Propaganda, 2 and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 mana for each creature they control that's attacking you. Commander's Plate, 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each color that is not in your commander's color identity. So it's a blue, meaning we have protection from red, green, white, and black. Equipping a commander costs 3, or a general equip cost 5. Rhystic Study, 2 and a blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1 mana. I think this is also on the Game Changer list. Island. Baral, Chief of Compliance, 1 and a blue. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's the main ability why we have it. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. It is a 1/3. The second one, we don't have as many in this because I'm not so much about... I'll have 1 or 2 counters and 1 or 2 single removals and usually 1 board wipe, because I think that's about enough. You don't want to have a crap ton of removal because then you become less liked and you just shut everybody else down. And this isn't super competitive. This is more casual. So, Kyrie, the Swirling Sky, 4 and 2 blue. Flying and ward 3, meaning if it's going to be targeted by an opponent, it has to pay an additional 3 mana to do so. When it dies, you choose 1. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands. Mill 6 cards, then return up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. It is a 6/6. Island. Goldvein Pick, 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Equip cost 1. Counterspell, 2 mana. Counter target, 2 blue, counter target spell. Copy Enchantment, 2 and a blue. You may have Copy Enchantment enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment on the battlefield. Kraken's Eye, 2 mana. Whenever a player casts a blue spell, you may gain a life. Snap, 1 and a blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Untap up to 2 lands. Vanguard Suppressor, 3 and a blue. It has Squad 2, meaning as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may pay 2 any number of times. When this creature enters the battlefield, create that many tokens that are copies of it. It is flying, and whenever it deals damage, combat damage to a player, draw a card. It is a 3/2. So that means it's 4 mana. For 6, you get a copy of it. For 8, you can get 2 copies of it. And for 10, you get 3 copies of it, and etc. Gather Specimens, 3 and 3 blue. If a creature would come into play under an opponent's control, this turn, it comes into play under your control instead. So if your opponent is going to have a big turn where they're going to cast a lot of creatures or cascade into a lot of creatures or anything like that, you play this, and then all of those creatures that would have come into play come into yours instead. It is a fun one. Palinchron, 5 and 2 blue, flying. When it enters the battlefield, untap up to 7 lands. You can pay 2 and 2 blue to return it to its owner's hand. It is a 4/5. Cryptic Command, 1 and 3 blue. Choose 2. Counter target spell. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Tap all creatures your opponents control and draw a card. Island. That's a pretty island. Vidalcan Shackles, 3 mana. You may choose not to untap Vidalcan Shackles during your untap step. You pay 2 and tap it to gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of islands you control for as long as Vidalcan Shackles remains tapped. Scepter of Eternal Glory, 4 mana. Add 1 mana of any color, or tap to add 3 mana of 1 color. Activate only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. Torrential Gearhulk, 4 and 2 blue. You flash. It's basically instant cast at any time. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target or instant from your graveyard. You may cast target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile instead. It's a 5/6. Sensei's Divining Top, 1 mana. You can pay 1 mana to look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You can then tap it to draw a card, then put Sensei's Divining Top on top of its owner's library. Myojin of Cryptic Dreams, 5 and 3 blue. When it enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it, if you cast it from your hand. Indestructible counter, it's a little mar, and then it can't be destroyed. You can remove an indestructible counter from Myojin, and you can copy target permanent spell you control 3 times. It's a 3/3. So if I were to cast Torrential have this out and then cast Torrential Gearhulk, I can copy it 3 times, creating 3 more copies, casting 3 more instants from the graveyard. Like, it's fun. It's good. I have yet to pop that off, unfortunately. People like to counter that one. Vesuvian Duplimancy, 3 and a blue. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. Island. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Taps for colorless, or you can pay 2 mana and tap it to choose a color. Add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. So your devotion is the pips up here, the color pips. So let's say I had these 3 cards out there. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would pay 2 mana, and then I would gain 6 mana. So I gain a total of 4 additional mana for the price of 2. It's pretty good, especially with some of the high-cost ones. Arcane Lighthouse. It's a land. Tap for colorless. You can pay 1 to tap it, and until end of turn, creatures your opponents control lose Hexproof and Shroud, and can't have Hexproof or Shroud. Island. Leyline of Anticipation, 2 and 2 blue. If Leyline of Anticipation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on your battlefield. You may cast spells as though they had flash. Mental Misstep, 1 Phyrexian blue, meaning it can be paid with either a blue mana or 2 life. Counter target spell with mana value 1. Dismiss into Dream, 6 and a blue. Each creature your opponents control is an illusion, in addition to its other types, and has, when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So if you have a deck that you're playing against, and your opponent has, like, let's say a feather deck, and that has a lot of target spells. And so if you have this out there, all of a sudden, whenever they try to do that or want to do that, they won't be able to, because it's going to make them lose their creatures. Gene Stealer Patriarch, 4 and a blue. Whenever it attacks, put an infection counter on a target creature defending player controls. Whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a Tyrannid in addition to its other types. It's a 4/4. Island. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, 10 mana. When you cast a spell, draw 4 cards. It has Annihilator 4, meaning when it attacks, the defending player has to sacrifice 4 things. And when it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into the library. It is a 12/12. That's a good one to have because it's a big scary creature, but also, if you're ever playing against mill decks, this gets milled into the graveyard, well, you just get to shuffle it back into your library. It's great. Myriad Landscape. Enters tapped, tap to add a mana. Pay 2 and tap to sacrifice it. Search for up to 2 basic land cards of the same type. Then put onto the battlefield tapped, shuffle your library. Mirror Image, 2 and a blue. You may have Mirror Image enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control. Staff of the Mind Magus, 3 mana. Whenever you cast a blue spell or an island enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Shadow Spear, 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and lifelink. 1 mana, and then you can have permanents your opponents control, lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, 2 mana. Dramatic Reversal, 1 and a blue. Untap all non-land permanents you control. Soul Talisman, 1 mana to suspend 3, meaning you pay 1 mana and then it goes into exile for 3 turns. Upkeep, you remove a counter until 3 turns have passed, and then it comes into play. And then you tap it to add 2 colorless mana. Fierce Guardianship, 2 and a blue. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. Soul Ring, 1 mana, taps to add 2 colorless. Island. Thing in the Ice, 1 and a blue. It is a defender, meaning it cannot attack. Thing in the Ice enters the battlefield with 4 ice counters on it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. Then, if it has no ice counters on it, transform it. It is a 0/4, and it becomes a Kraken. When this creature transforms into Awoken Horror, return all non-horror creatures to their owner's hand. It is a 7/8. That's not good. My microphone is sinking. Gotta fix that. That's unfortunate. Mercurial Spell Dancer, 1 and a blue. Mercurial Spell Dancer can't be blocked. When you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on it. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may remove 2 oil counters from it. If you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It is a 2/1. Phyrexian Metamorph, 3 mana and a Phyrexian blue, meaning blue mana or 2 life. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size, tap for a colorless. Niblis of the Breath, 2 and a blue. Flying, blue, and tap. You may tap or untap target creature. It's a 2/1. Phantasmal Image, 1 and a blue. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an illusion in addition to its other types, and gains when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability. Sacrifice it. Sword of Wealth and Power, 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets. 2 mana to equip it. Island. Haughty Jin, 2 and 2 blue, flying. Its power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. The power is equal to that, and toughness is 4. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana. Equip creature as hexproof and haste. Equip cost 1. Hexproof is opponents cannot target this creature. Curse of Unbinding, 6 and a blue. Enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest of the revealed cards into their graveyard. Island. Thawing Glaciers enters tapped. You can pay 1, tap it to search your library for a basic land card. Put that card into your battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Return Thawing Glaciers to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next cleanup step. Kefnet's Monument, 3 mana. Blue creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And whenever you cast a creature spell, target creature an opponent controls doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Oh. Shadow Rift, 1 blue. Target creature gains shadow until end of turn, meaning it can't be blocked. This creature can block or be blocked only by creatures with shadow, and then you draw a card. Island. Frost Titan, 4 and 2 blue. Whenever Frost Titan becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell unless they pay an additional 2. Whenever Frost Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, tap target permanent. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. 6/6. Island. Aetherize, 3 and a blue. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. Copy Artifact, 1 and a blue. You may have Copy Artifact enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield, except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types. Stunt Double, 3 and a blue. Flash. You may have Stunt Double enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. And Zalfirin Void, when it enters the battlefield, you scry 1, meaning look at the top, and then put it back on top or on the bottom. Taps for colorless. Dissolve, 1 and 2 blue. Counter target spell, scry 1. Okay, it might have a couple more counter spells in here than I thought it did. Never mind. Crystal Grotto, when it enters the battlefield, scry 1, taps for colorless, or you can pay a mana and tap it for any mana of any color. Winry, Automail Engineer, or Master Transmuter, 3 and a blue. You can pay a blue, tap it to return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. 1/2. Island. Jin-Gitaxias, Core Augur, 8 and 2 blue. It has flash. At the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. It is a 5/4. That is a bomb. That's a big creature you got in there to mess with other people. Fun stuff. Sublime Epiphany, 4 and 2 blue. Choose 1 or more. Counter target spell. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Target player draws a card. Island. 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 Island Part 4. Expropriate. 7 and 2 blue. Starting with you. Each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile, expropriate. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, 3 and a blue. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities. The legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, and it has partner, meaning you can have 2 commanders. 3/1. Island. Gilded Lotus, 5 mana. You tap it for 3 mana of any one color. Void Shouter, 1 and 2 blue. It is devoid. This card has no color. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into his owner's graveyard. Confounding Conundrum, 1 and a blue. When it enters, draw a card. Whenever a land enters under an opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under the control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand. What that basically means is if they do 1 land, they're fine. If they do 2 or more lands, they have to return a land that they control back to their hand. The One Ring, 4 mana. Indestructible. When the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. You tap it to put a burden counter on the One Ring, and then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. Fairy Mastermind, 1 and a blue. It has flash and flying. And whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. And you can pay 3 and a blue for each player to draw a card. It's a 2/1. Island. Island. Rogue's Passage. Tap for a colorless or pay 4 and tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Island. Sword of Hearth and Home, 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and from white. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own. Then search your library for a basic land card. Put both cards onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. 2 mana to equip. Another island. All our islands are here at the end. Murmuring Mystic, 3 and a blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. Deflection, 3 and a blue. Change the target of a target spell with a single target. One with a Multiverse, 6 and 2 blue. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand or the top of your library without paying its mana cost. Sapphire Medallion, 2 mana. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Aboleth Spawn, 2 and a blue. It has flash and ward 2. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if this is out and someone has an ETB that says, when this creature enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, you can go, oh, I get to draw 2 cards. And we're going to scoot you down. You're in the way. Island. Irenica's Vile Duplication, 3 and a blue. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. Sower of Temptation, 2 and 2 blue, flying. Whenever Sower of Temptation enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as Sower of Temptation remains on the battlefield. It is a 2/2. So there you have it. This is a mono blue deck that has more counter spells than I thought. And it takes stuff and it copies stuff. I am actually a little surprised that I don't have Gilded Drake in this one. Gilded Drake would be a great one to have in this one because it exchanges Gilded Drake with a creature an opponent has, and that would work great with the theme of this. But it does blue stuff, so we like that. That's the point. And I don't know if I have another Gilded Drake just lying around, so I might have to think about that and get one later. But anyway, hope you like it. Hope it seems interesting. I've played it a couple times, and it's been fun. I've had a good time with it. The copying stuff is better than the taking stuff. People tend to not like it when you take their things. But as part of the game, especially the Empress, Galena being the thing game, but it's only legendary permanents. So if they got other non-legendary stuff, you can't take that. But I mean, still taking just legendaries is still pretty gnarly. Anyway, hope you like it. Have fun. We'll catch you guys later.